We are pronouncing the Chicago Bears 2024 edition as dead as can be. We'll give you our condolences and we'll give you the funeral services or what happened yesterday in just a moment. In other NFL news, the Washington Commanders, they decided to, let's say, jump the gun against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came down to the wire. In basketball, the Bulls did something that the Bears couldn't do. They won over the weekend. The Blackhawks, they did the same thing with a special guest in the house. That in a review of college football over the weekend and a whole lot more as the Second City Sports Monday edition starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Lakina McGee on Twitter, X, and Kid's Game, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you, once the issues are fixed, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue once the issues are fixed. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago will be available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere, hopefully once the issues get fixed.
And you know we will provide.
And we're providing you with the best here on Second City Sports. As Sid said, we'll do the taps music, for the Bears, and also too we'll talk about the rest of the NFL Week 10 slate, including some bonehead plays and some comebacks as well. Also, the Bulls and the Hawks got some good news, and as they won their games over the weekend. A little bit of college football and a little sprinkle of college hoops. A special edition of Old School TV Monday. So if you're Veterans Day, if you're thank you for your service. Whether you're currently those of you who are currently stationed right now fighting the good fight for us, for sacrifices. So if you guys see a veteran, please give him or her a salute today and every day, honestly, and enjoy all the cool free stuff you guys are gonna get today. So thank you to all the veterans.
Thank you to the ones who have served in the past and who are serving presently right now. So we'd like to thank you all our branches of the military in the United States and around the world. So happy Veterans Day from all of us here at Second City Sports.
So let's just get right to it, Sid, because this is just I can't. All right. So I didn't watch a single moment of this game yesterday. Shout out to our buddies at GN Sports for bringing out the highlights and the great analysis as usually do. Our buddy Chris Bowden and Dave Bennett, had the honor of doing that yesterday. I think JP just couldn't do it. I'm sure he probably just said, "Nah, you know what, I'm good." But the Patriots, like, wait, did Tom Brady come out of retirement out the Fox booth? Did Teddy Bruschi come out of retirement?
I thought Drew Bledsoe did.
I know, right? I mean, well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you may be right. Drew Bledsoe might have came out of retirement.
Vincent Brisby, Chris Slade, Michael Timpson, Ben Wintercoat. Shout out Chris Berman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going a little further back. That even before the Brady pictures, it's kind of like in between those times. So those were probably kind of like the days here. That's a name I haven't heard in years. I hope he's doing okay. But as the Patriots, the Bears, and I guess you could say dominant fashion if you want. That's probably the best way you could say. That's the only thing you could say. Dominant fashion. I mean, 19-3, and just awful throughout. I mean, Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times. That's tied for the most for a Bears quarterback last year, matching last year's total. Justin Fields, remember that Cleveland game, folks, where the Bears just got hammered by Joe Flacco, who's by the Browns. And it's just there's really didn't watch a single minute of this game. Only 120 yards for Caleb Williams. Drake May 184 yards, the TD and an interception. DeAndre Swift, 59 rushing yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 74 yards. Like I said, didn't watch a single minute of this game. So if our analysis is a little bit off, judging by the tweets that I saw yesterday, that there was a good reason why I didn't watch it. So, Sid, the floor is yours, my friend.
Where do we begin? Caleb Williams, we were told that he was a generational talent. No, I'm not going to have that conversation if he should be here or Justin Fields should be here. That's dead and gone. I'm not going down that route. But he didn't play well yesterday. The offensive line was trash. DeAndre Swift actually ran the ball okay, but the Bears lacked the commitment of running the ball with consistency. Unlike that 3-game win streak we saw last month, they decided to go away from them to prove to people that they're smarter than you and I. And what happens? You have a current 3-game losing streak. Number 2, the defense. I know Montez Sweat has an injured shin right now. He only played half the plays yesterday. I'm not going to blame it all on him, but where is the rest of that defense, Lakina? Like we mentioned with the old school Patriots, I thought some of those guys came out of retirement and played yesterday, the way that defense played. And number 3, with Matt Eberflus, we'll get to some of the foolishness that happened or didn't happen on his local radio show this morning. There's a lack of accountability within that organization, not just with their coaching staff, but maybe up above him with Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren and George McCaskey, who's the owner of the team. Here's what I mean. After what happened yesterday, Lakina, I heard some of our friends and colleagues who cover the team, and I got on some of the comments words, which I usually don't do, but if Matt Eberflus, which it looks like he will not be fired today, he's meeting me currently. So whenever you get any news coming out of Hallis Hall between now and 2:00, we'll give it to you right here on Second City Sports on Chicago. But back to what happened yesterday. Listen to some of our colleagues who covered the team. Many people and some fans said that he should have been fired yesterday. Here's the question I posed. I'll put on a couple of people's message boards, and I'll pose it here. George McCaskey said that he's hands off, correct? He's been saying he's not a football evaluator. He's going to have hands off, correct? Okay. Kevin Warren's your president. Remember, we heard stories coming out of his camp over the last year that he wants to be more involved in the football decisions. Now we know that he's there to get a new stadium wherever it's going to be. Number 2, Ryan Poles, the GM. I know he's not happy with what he's been seeing over the last 3 weeks. Now, if Matt Eberflus was going to get fired, and if you don't let Kevin Warren and or Ryan Poles make that decision, the finger should start pointing and end with George McCaskey. Here's why. Even though he doesn't want to stick his beak in it, you're the owner of the team. And if you say you care about winning, like you say you do care about winning, this change should have been made today. This team has been undisciplined. This team lacks confidence. And it lacks accountability. Then we see this movie before, Lakina, with the last 2 out of the last 3 coaching staffs. Example, Matt Nagy toward the end a couple years ago. and John Tressman, who should never have been hired after Lovie Smith a decade ago. And both those situations ended up in train wrecks where you became a national embarrassment. So I'm pointing the finger at George McCaskey. If you don't let Ryan Pauls and or Kevin Warren fire Matt Eberflus whenever that is, the blame goes on you and you alone.
Well, speaking of actually Second City Sports, on Sports Search, got Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. I'm looking through Twitter here, the Twitter sphere here, Twitter X sphere here for go through the press that is going on right now as we speak. Keep it locked here. Of course, you can keep the if it's other stuff on mute, but this is according to Patrick Finley, longtime Bears insider for the Sun Times. He said that this is according to Coach Eberflus. He said any staff changes is my decision and mine alone. So take that as you will. And it's interesting because this team, if you heard Kevin Byers' comments afterwards, he's basically said that he had nothing to say about the coaching staff. So that tells me that they've lost the locker room. And the fact that you're 1 for 14 in third downs, you just didn't really move the ball very well. You thought that maybe when you started moving the ball, you got sacked. We said this when we did the preview of this on Friday. That defense for the Patriots, look, all the names we mentioned, they're not there. They've long retired. I think some are actually on the coaching staff there, but I'm sure Gerald Mayo probably saw it, started rubbing his hands like, we can probably get to Caleb Williams, and they did. Now, this is supposed to be the easy part of your schedule. Now, starting Sunday, it's gonna get even worse, folks. You get to play the Packers coming off a bye. Matt LaFleur is probably rubbing his hands thinking, like a mad scientist. Then you play Detroit. Now we'll talk about Detroit. They're going to come back up in a little bit here. You play Minnesota. I think you play San Francisco in between that. And no, I think San Francisco until next month. But I think you play. I think you play Green Bay again. I think, but yeah, it gets worse, folks. It's not going to get any better. So all that goodwill that they had, starting 4-2, that's gone bye-bye now. The Bears, as late Denny Green, I'm going to keep referencing this, they are who you thought they were.
Now, here I have a couple more thoughts, and I'll give it to you on the flip side of this break before we get into the recap of the rest of the NFL action from yesterday. I'll set it up by asking this: if you're a Bears fan right now, are you cheering for Matt Eberflus to lose the rest of the schedule, which is very possible, or you just checked out and say, "Hey, wake me up in 2025"? Because what I heard from some of our good folks there was at the game yesterday, and from what I saw on the highlight package early this morning, the Bears fans gave the team what they deserved, which was a bunch of boos and a fired Eberflus chants, and rightfully so, because that performance yesterday from all around was pathetic. And the Bears organization deserves every apathy, every piece of anger, finger pointing at them that they deserve. Now, I know, well, Sid, you predicted them 98 not to go to the playoffs. Yes, that's true, but I didn't expect them to play like this. Well, Sid, you told that Caleb Williams and some of the young guys will go through growing pains. Yes, but we didn't expect them to be lacking confidence in having a divided locker room between the coaches and the players. Look what's happening now. You're going to tell me that all of a sudden this situation gets turned around quickly just like that? Now, we've seen on other organizations and others in seasons past that other teams didn't have these big of issues. They were able to turn their seasons around. Do you give the Bears any confidence for turning this situation around this year? I don't.
We'll have more on this coming up on the other side of the break. Of course, we'll also have the rest of the NFL Week 10, including studs and duds, including some big comebacks and a couple boneheaded plays that are head scratching, a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More Week 10 recap coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Kim McGee on the Twitter, X, Instagram, IG.
We have exactly 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us about the Bears' loss yesterday to the Patriots 19-3, or all the other action that took place from around the league yesterday, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Like, we'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, finish up your little I don't want to say tangent, but a little synopsis of the Bears so we can move on to the rest of the league.
Okay. From what I read and heard and saw yesterday, Daryl Moose Johnson, I know you believe should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He called the game yesterday with Kevin Kugler on Fox yesterday. I heard, as the kids would say, he put the Bears organization on blast, not just the coaching staff, but the whole organization on blast.
Good.
I couldn't find the clip. So we obviously we trust our sources on that. I remember toward the end of the Matt Nagy era, especially when the Bears were on national television, Troy Aikman headed that bunch of, as you said, he said everything but a few four-letter choice words on what Matt Nagy was doing, and we all saw it. The national people started to see it, and of course, Matt Nagy went bye to his own dismay. Now we've seen it. Now the national folks are starting to see it with Matt Eberflus. We'll see what happens with this Bears team going forward. As we said here before, we'll say it again, but we have less than 85 minutes left of this program. If and when anything happens at Hallis Hall, we'll get the news right to you. So stay tuned right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago for the latest on the Monsters in the Midway. Real quick, Lakina, my second point, I want to show you this to our viewers here. Thank you, Sean Sierra, for creating this. Be honest with me, Lakina. We'll see what happens with the rest of the schedule as we talked about here. Looking at the rest of the schedule, you mentioned Green Bay next week. Do you see a win there?
Mhm.
I don't.
Nope. No, sir.
Okay, and then the following Sunday, November 24th, versus the Vikings. I know that we'll talk about the Vikings, what happened with them yesterday, but as of right now, I do not see a win with them. And of course, 4 days later, you go to Detroit for Thanksgiving Day. And if the Bears are on this current losing streak are where they are right now, do you think Matt Eberflus will be coaching his last game on Thanksgiving Day?
Well, if Tom Brady starts swearing, gets on the goals and versus swearing, yes, I think, yeah, he might be gone.
Of course, the
Who's
rest of the schedule. Okay, and then the rest of the schedule looks like this. In December, you go to San Francisco, and you go to Minnesota. You may get one of those Minnesota Vikings games, maybe, but
Maybe.
well, yeah. And then you come home for Detroit on the 22nd of December, and of course, 4 days later against Seattle. That's a maybe. The day after Christmas, that's a Thursday night. Of course, you wrap up the season on January 5th at Green Bay. How many wins do you see there, if you see any, for the remainder of the season?
Like I said, I think they'll probably win one of those Minnesota games, but the other ones, I don't know. Well, maybe Seattle. I mean, we'll see where Seattle is by then. They might be fighting for a playoff spot or maybe for the NFC West, but I don't see. Look, they might go for it in the division again, like they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. As we said before, if any news comes out of House Hall between now and 2 o'clock, we'll give you the latest right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Now to the rest of the NFL action from yesterday. Here is Lucky McGee.
Yay! Woo! All right, well, silly, but let's go to Germany. Let's go to Munich, Germany, and versus the last of the international games. They actually want to play somewhere else, a little further north in Europe. We'll talk about that in a bit here. But the Panthers hold off the Giants 20-17. Bryce Young had 126 passing yards and a touchdown. 2 interceptions for Daniel Jones, and 103 rushing yards for Tyrone Tracy Jr. Chuba Hubbard got some fresh paper late last week. Definitely earning that money. 153 yards and a TD there. The Panthers are now 3-7, and I'm not gonna say they're not gonna make the playoffs, obviously, but they're definitely gonna have been more competitive the last few weeks. So, what do you think about? Did you watch this game? I didn't watch this game either. I'll be honest, but did you watch it? What did you think about it, Sid?
I had it on as background noise, waiting for the new early games to start, and I'll give Daniel Jones and the Giants credit for coming back, and because they trailed 17-7, I give them credit for scoring 10 points in that fourth quarter. But that fumble by Tracy overtime, that's what sealed it for the Giants, and the Panthers took advantage of it with that overtime field goal. Yeah, talking about a coach that needed to be fired, Brian Daboll. Now the Giants are 2-8. You can forget about the playoffs for them. They're not winning the rest of their schedule to even have a chance at the playoffs. Daniel Jones is probably out of there, and Brian Daboll should be out of there as head coach too. That Giants defense, as we said before the season started, it could be something, but they looked dead tired too yesterday. So credit them for coming back in that fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough.
Not at all. It was, like you said, that Tracy fumble. They definitely killed them, and they found more ways to lose. So just awful. The Chiefs remain undefeated by the skin of their teeth again, as the potential game-winning field goal was blocked. They edged out. I know our buddy or Chrissy Mann, cover character up here. Her husband Chris was probably like throwing things all over the place when this happened. Chiefs beat the Broncos 16-14, and I mean, there's no way the Chiefs are 9-0. Okay, but they're gonna be facing the Buffalo in Buffalo coming up, this Sunday. So that should be interesting. But 2 TDs, 215, 115 yards passing for Bo Nix in the losing effort. 266 yards as a touchdown. Give the Broncos defense credit. They sacked Mahomes 4 times. They kept them in it. But this is. They can't keep getting away with this. I'll talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Broncos controlled that whole game, in my opinion, until the last snap where their field goal attempt was blocked. And credit to Kansas City Chiefs special teams there. But Cortland Sutton, I should say, for the Broncos had a good game. 6 catches for 70 yards in that second quarter touchdown. Even though the Broncos scored all their points in the second quarter, it was the defense, as you mentioned, that kept them in the game. Outside of Travis Kelce, Lakina, you didn't see anybody really step out with a great performance for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. We said this last year, and we're going to say it again this year. They're led. I'll talk about the Chiefs. They're led by the defense, and the special teams came through yesterday to preserve the victory.
Yeah. That's we'll be talking about that Chiefs Bills game coming up because everybody is on CBS because they're a part of the doubleheader, so everyone will get a chance to see it, the whole country. So we'll definitely preview that on Friday. Probably one of the games of the day. I was watching this game instead of the Patriots Bears game. You guys, if you saw the highlights, you know why. The Steelers hold off the Commanders 28-27. 3 TDs for Russell Wilson, including the go-ahead TD to Mike Williams, new Steelers receiver Mike Williams, who came from the Jets. Jaden Daniels, 202 yards and 2 TDs in a losing effort. Austin Eckler, 2 TDs, 44 rushing yards in a losing effort. Jalen Warren, 66 rushing yards for him. George Pickens with a couple of great catches, a TD catch to kind of get it in it. Back and forth this game was from start to finish, so it was really whoever had the ball last. And the Steelers, to their credit, they were able to look. Mike Tomlin's making a case for Coach of the Year. I think a lot of Steelers fans wanted him gone, but now he said, "Oh no, there's a reason why I'm still here, folks."
Yeah, even though Russell Wilson didn't have the greatest game yesterday, he did more than enough for that Steelers offense. I know that game was on here in Chicago, so I'm sure a lot of people switched over to that game. Instead of viewing that Bears game, which I do not blame them. But what did I tell you on Friday, Lakina? Last Friday on the show, I said the Pittsburgh Steelers defense will be the best defense that Jaden Daniels has seen all year outside of the Bears. We know what happened at the end of that game. But the Steelers, especially early, came after Jaden Daniels, which rattled him all day. I know Terry McLaurin had a good game for Washington, 5 catches, 113 yards. I know Jeremy Nichols, the third-string running back, scored a touchdown early, but that Steelers defense was in his face all day. And of course, the last play of the game, Lakina, your boy jumped over the line. The Steelers were trying to run out the clock and bait them to jump off sides. And guess what happened? Russell Wilson and the rest of the team celebrated like it was New Year's Day because, damn it, that trick worked. And the Steelers preserved a 1-point win on the road.
That was defensive end Johnny Newton who jumped off sides for the Steelers, the rookie from Illinois. And yeah, I'm sure he heard it from his teammates afterwards. You saw Dan Quinn's face afterwards, and but very clever though for Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin. This isn't their first rodeo, so that was very clever. And they had not done that, I mean, they still had like about a minute 33 and without no timeout. So who knows? We probably would have had another chance of a Hail Mary, but. Yeah, that was a very clever play call there by Tomlin, Russ, and the rest of that group. So they're winning now 9-3. So nice win for the Steelers. Going down to Central Florida as the Jags made a game for a little bit. Matt Jones had 111 yards, but there were 2 interceptions. Sam Darnold didn't have his best game of the season, 241 yards and 3 interceptions. Aaron Jones got a little bit banged up with the wrist, but he's okay, so that's good news there. 12-7. Now, thankfully, there are no style points to this, so they're able to kind of do that. But Vikings hold off the Jags.
Yeah, this was a classic Lakina McGee special, a low-scoring game. The Vikings, we questioned it. Are they one of the top teams in the NFC? At least record-wise, they are. They haven't played well lately over the last month or so, but they got away with it yesterday against a lesser opponent. You mentioned Sam Darnold with 3 interceptions. Aaron Jones had 88 yards rushing. T.J. Hawkins, it was the only standout star for the Vikings. Their star tight end, former Lion, 8 catches for 72 yards. The Vikings, they got away with one yesterday. These are the signs of a good team. Sometimes you don't play well, but you find a way to muscle out a win on the road, even when it's ugly.
And this was definitely an ugly game yesterday. If you guys saw, guys, I saw a little bit of it on my computer here. Going down to Big Easy, Darren Rizzi gets his first win as interim head coach. We don't need to know about his. He needs some Metamucil for his other issues, but the States upset the Falcons 20-17. Derek Carr 2 TDs, 269 yards. Kirk Cousins, an interception, 306 yards. It's about 116 yards, rushing yards, and 2 TDs from Bijan Robinson. Kamara, not his best game, 55 yards, but yeah, credit to the Saints defense to kind of keep the Falcons from scoring too many TDs.
And also, too, the Falcons, just like I said a couple of weeks ago, you think they were finally end up turning the corner. They have a piss poor performance, especially offensively like this. You mentioned Bijan Robinson had a great game yesterday with over 100 yards rushing again and 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, I don't know what it is. He balls up like a baby down the stretch. He did that yesterday. Tyrann Mathieu picked off his pass yesterday. Now, the Saints nearly threw the game away on that third down play. I don't know if you saw it, Lakina, but Alvin Kamara was wide open. He dropped it. So they gave the ball back to Atlanta. And, of course, Atlanta had a crucial penalty, which set them back. And, of course, Kirk Cousins trying to make everything happen on his own. He threw that interception and the game was over. So the Saints, they were dominant throughout. But the Falcons did make a run of it late in that third quarter. But as you mentioned, the Saints defense held it down and kept that 3-point lead, which turned out to be a victory for them.
Good win for the Saints, and we'll see if they can build on that. Going down to Tampa, the 49ers beat the Bucks 23-20. Saw a little bit of this game, too. It ended up being a good game. Brock Purdy threw 53 yards and 2 TDs. 116 yards for Baker Mayfield and a TD in a losing effort. Christian McCaffrey in his first game back, only 39 rushing yards, but you got to think that he'll get it going, once he gets, he had 68 receiving yards as well, so you got to think that, that's only going to get better as he gets into game shape. Bucky Irving for the Bucks, 73 yards and a TD. So give Tampa credit for keeping it close, going back and forth with the 49ers, but it was a game-winning field goal, which apparently, I guess, Debo wasn't very happy with Jake Moody earlier. Because he missed like 3 field goals, but he didn't make one when it counted. So I guess if you're the 49ers, he'll take the win and leave, go back out west.
I was watching this game live via my computer screen, and did you check out that play on that last drive by Tampa Bay? Baker Mayfield on, I believe it was 4th down. He stiffed on Joey Bosa, and he threw the ball down. I forgot who caught it, but that kept that drive alive for Tampa Bay, in which they ended up tying the game before San Francisco came back to win the game. Despite the 3 missed field goals, the 49ers hung in there tough on the road. And also, too, let's give a shout-out to Bucky Irving, the star. It was Rashard White who caught that ball off that Joey Bosa stiff arm. But Bucky Irving for Tampa Bay, 13 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Juwan Jennings, who I have on my fantasy team, he came back with a vengeance off the injured list. 7 catches for 93 yards. Brock Purdy, at times, he did not look his best, but as you mentioned, his stats did stand out in the 49ers. Around this time last year, Lakina, remember, Deebo Samuel was hurt. He came back into the lineup that beat Jacksonville. Their season took off on their way to the Super Bowl. Because the same thing happened again this year. It's going to be a little bit of a tougher road because these teams deal with a little bit more than compared to a year ago. But they could be on the sign on pointing the way up or taking off again.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys coming back. Of course, you got to think CMC is going to be better once he gets into game form. Same thing with Jennings. So yeah, you got to think that he'll definitely get better here. But we'll see. Like you said, a little bit more injuries than that to deal with. But most of those guys, of course, were good. Just Brandon, they'll be back. So we'll see what happens when the time they face the Bears in December. Could get a little ugly, folks. Down to Indy, three hours south of here. Bills held off the Colts 30-20. Not his best showing. I'm talking about Josh Allen, 280 yards and 2 interceptions. On the flip side, though, for Joe Flacco, was sacked 4 times, 3 interceptions. So that's what if you're a Bills fan, you'll take that part of it. If Allen didn't have his best showing. Buffalo again, not pretty, but they'll take it. On the chin for 8-2 as they face the Chiefs coming up on Sunday. But yeah, this is what you do here. Look, you win ugly. I think that's what you do here in NFL.
Yeah, shout out to Taron Johnson, who had that pick 6 for the Bills. He took it back for 23 yards for that early touchdown in the first half. Mac Hollins for Buffalo, 4 catches, 86 yards, and James Cook, let him cook, the Bills running back. He also had a touchdown in that fourth quarter to seal it. As you mentioned, for Buffalo, now 8-2 on the year. They're trying to keep up with Kansas City for that top seed in the AFC. It's not going to look pretty all the time, but you find ways to win, especially on the road, and the Bills did just that.
Yeah, I don't know if they were caught, maybe caught looking ahead to that Kansas City game a little bit, but look, you do what you did. You got the win in Indy, so you can lead there and start prepping for KC. Going into the 3:00 games, the Chargers, the Chargers of the Los Angeles Chargers of Southern California, as we call them here, 27-17 over the Titans, and it's interesting because shout out to everybody who had the call of this game for CBS. Justin Herbert, 1 TD, 164
No, you did the
yards.
Jets game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, we'll talk about that Jets game coming up with the show. That was terrible. But for one side anyway. 176 yards, 75 yards, I should say, for two TDs, but a 7-sack game for the Chargers defense, and you have to think that that's what's going to propel them. They're 6-3, very solid 6-3, and they're 3-1 at home. So the Chargers looking really good so far.
I didn't watch a minute of this game live. I saw it via NFL Red Zone, and like you said, the Chargers defense did step up to the task. Will Levis did not look good. I know Calvin really had a great game for the Titans. 5 catches, 84 yards, to scored both of the team's touchdowns, but the Titans just look lost, and the Chargers, as we said on Friday, they will be able to take advantage of, and that's exactly what they did.
Looked really good there, so they might be a team to watch out for as they get ready for the playoffs, the playoff chase here. So we'll see what happens here. Now we can go to that Jets Cardinals game that everybody had the call there for CBS. If you saw one of our new buddies, Nick King from ABC 7, the affiliate down in just outside Phoenix, and they actually had a sign with they were a lot of Jets fans there, as you probably would expect. A lot of guys with paper bags over their heads, kind of like the old 8s from back in the day. I'm sure Bears fans had that last week. 151 yards, and it was and Aaron Rodgers was sacked 3 times. On the flip side, though, for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray 260 yards and a TD, 62 rushing yards for Trey Benson, including a great run that was just a monster run that he had early on in that game. James Conner, a rushing TD as well. The Cardinals 6-4, and I don't think anybody had them. Look, I'm sure they would love to have a couple of those games back. The Bills game for sure early in the season. I'm sure they would love to have that game back. They probably would be
the Lions game.
Would be leading Yes. You would think they probably would be leading the West right now. Especially with San Fran's struggles, and the other, the Rams, and we'll talk about the Rams a bit here. But so a nice show for the Cardinals.
Did you I watched the majority of this game live via this computer screen. Did you check out the hit by Williams from number 55 from the Jets? He popped Kyler Murray's helmet off.
Oh, yeah.
That was like an old school John Madden hit from the 90s, but I digress. But outside of that, the Jets did not have any firepower on offense. If I was a Jets fan there yesterday, I would have had my head in my hands. I would have been ready to leave early too. That offense is putrid. They couldn't get the ball to Breece Hall enough, which made no sense. And I know that some Jets fans would say, bench Aaron Rodgers, see what you got to play with the young guys. But that's not going to help. I know they're not going to make the playoffs. Basically, the Jets had to win out the rest of their schedule. I don't see that happening. And you just have to write it out at this point and see what the future holds. Will Aaron Rodgers come back next year? Who's going to be the next head coach? I think his future, talking about Rodgers' future, will depend on who's going to be the next head coach for the Jets.
That's all I can say about this one. Well, speaking of another game that I'll probably say oi on CBS. I'm sure they wish they would have flexed this game. Eagles and Cowboys. It was all Eagles 34-6. This might be a sack 5 times. Jalen Hurts threw for 202 yards and 2 TDs, and Saquon Barkley 66 rushing yards, 109 yards from Mr. AJ Brown. They really didn't have to do too much. I'm talking about the Eagles because the Cowboys were just bad. They only have 48 total passing yards per Google Rush, and Trey Lance. He saw a little bit of action on the day. 7-2 for the Eagles. Again, not the prettiest 7-2, but I guess he'll take the win if you're the Eagles. But yeah, I turned this game. I went to the other 3:00 games. I don't know about you, Sid, but yeah, I was just like, nah, I kind of tuned out once they were up like 14-6. I was just like, nah, bye.
I was watching that Jet Cardinals game all the way. I kind of figured that Eagles Cowboys game was going to be this interesting. It turned out it went, and that result ended up that way. But the Eagles did what they had to do against an injured, battered bunch. I know Michael Parsons had that early strip sack and fumble, but it didn't really amount to anything outside of that. But for Philadelphia, this is good for their confidence because they go to our nation's capital on Thursday with the big division showdown against the Washington Commanders. And whoever wins that game, I think is going to win that NFC East. So a big win for the Eagles yesterday as they roll into Washington. As I mentioned, this coming Thursday, they're going to be riding in with high confidence against that Washington Commanders team.
Going to be very interesting. I'll be watching that game instead of that Bears-Packers game, that's for sure. On Sunday.
Well, it's on Thursday, so.
Well, in that case, hell, I'll definitely watch because usually I usually don't watch the Amazon games, but yeah, the last couple of weeks have actually been some good ones. I watched the Bengals and the Ravens one, so I will probably be watching this one too. So that should be a good one, especially. We'll see how the Commanders look, coming off that weirdness that happened there. Johnny Newton, stay still. But I digress. But some history here on Sunday night, last night, 26-23. Boy, oh boy. Okay, check this out, Sid. Texans are the first team. They became the first team since 1970. The Colts, the old Baltimore Colts, to lose after blowing a lead of at least 15 points while having 5 or more interceptions. So they're also the first team to lose with 5 interceptions thrown to them. Of course, the 2012 Cardinals did that, and of course, Jared Goff had 5 interceptions for the Lions, but it didn't really matter as Ryan Bates for the second straight week comes back and hits the winner, the field goal to tie it, and just by literally like centimeters got the game winner as time expired. And the Texans, unfortunately, just couldn't get it going, couldn't make do with a lot of those interceptions. Give credit to the Lions defense for kind of keeping them at bay, because this should have been a blowout, but look, Dan Campbell, I don't know what he says afterwards. I don't know if he threatened to cut off a finger or something, but good Lord. I mean, to his credit, the Lions came back and won, and they're now 8-1.
Yeah, that was a great show of character and not quitting and keep fighting. And that's what the Lions are. They're a team, a bunch of gritty guys on there. Jared Goff, obviously his worst game of the year. Both teams early couldn't run the football, but the Lions did enough in the second half. Jameer Gibbs had 19 carries for 71 yards. David Montgomery had a couple of touchdowns as a former Bear. You don't think that he's gearing up for the Bears on Thanksgiving Day? You'll be kidding yourself. You said the answer was no. But the Lions, they're 8-1 right now, 5-0 away from Ford Field. As we said before the beginning of the season, Lakina, that NFC is wide open. I still believe it is, but Detroit's saying, well, you got to come through Ford Field if you want to go to the Super Bowl, and they're playing like it right now.
Looking really good so far, and that's for the Texans. Looking for them, that division's not very good for the most part, so they can kind of get away with those kind of losses, but you hope that loss doesn't come back to bite them up when it comes to tiebreakers. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Sid, your NFL Week 10 studs and duds.
All right, my first stud will start with Patrick Mahomes, 28-42, 266 yards and a touchdown as the Chiefs hold out the Broncos 16-14. My second stud will be Brock Purdy, 25-36, 353 yards and 2 touchdown passes as the 49ers win at the buzzer at Tampa Bay 23-20. And my third stud will be Kyler Murray, 22-24, 266 yards and a touchdown, 3 touchdowns overall, 2 of them rushing as the Cardinals dominate the New York Jets at home 31-6.
I've got Detroit as my first stud. I mean, the fact that they were down 19, they came back despite they were able to overcome Jared Goff's. He only had like 4 interceptions total through the whole season, so he had 5 last night. But they were able to come back and win it. That just shows you the grittiness of that team. So send the message to the rest of the NFC. Yeah, you probably have to come through us, if you want to go to the Super Bowl. So we'll see if that's the case. Arizona, I have to say, I didn't think Arizona would be this good early on in the season. I don't think anybody else did either. We thought that maybe they could probably make a go at it, but they're right there to think of it in the NFC West. So like you said, a couple of those losses, one of those losses, if they had won that Detroit game, speaking of, if they had won that Buffalo game early on in the season, who knows? They probably would be by themselves, in the leader for the NFC West, I should say. So nice win, a nice run there as well. And I'll say the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers look really good. They took care of business against the Titans, and look, they're 6-3, so very solid.
All right, my three does are as follows as we run it up against it: the Chicago Bears, obviously, the New York Giants, and the Tennessee Titans.
I'll say the Titans, Johnny Newton for the that little flinch there, really, dude. And Denver. Denver, you had one job, folks. You had one freaking job. Really? I mean, I don't know. It was I think it was a bad snap, and I guess the hole was okay, but it was a little wobbly. That's why the Chiefs were able to block it. But still, I mean, you already missed two beforehand, so I don't know what the hell happened there. But way to go, Denver. If that loss comes up to bite you in the butt, go for the wild card spots. There you go.
In tonight's Week 10 action will wrap up with the Los Angeles Rams hosted the Miami Dolphins. That game will be exclusively on ESPN at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Rams are 3-1 in home, 4-4 overall, are right in the thick of it in the NFC West race. The Dolphins check in at 2-6. They are 1-3 away from South Beach.
I think if you're the Dolphins, you want to make sure Tua makes kind of keep Tua upright, because that defense for the Rams have actually been playing pretty well lately. So, I think that's really the case here. As for the Rams, you want to try to make it set the tone early with your offense. Use Cooper Kupp. You didn't want to trade him. You didn't have to now. So, now I guess show that maybe you made the smart choice by not trading him.
Yep. And also to look out for the running game for both of these teams. Devin Achane for the Miami Dolphins, hopefully he can help out Tua. And on the flip side, Kyren Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. He is a go-to guy as far as the running game is concerned for the Rams. So we'll see what happens tonight out there on the left coast, 7:15 p.m. on ESPN exclusively as the Rams host the Dolphins.
All right, hour number one, the Bucks. Hour number two, straight ahead. There's the second city sports. On Sports in Chicago, both the Bulls and the Blackhawks get wins over the weekend, including a great one, a thriller game for the Hawks last night. Yay! We'll talk about the rest of NBA and NHL as well. Of course, after that, we'll do college football, and a little sprinkle of college hoops, and a special edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more coming next. Keenan McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Hour two, more fun on hour two coming up right after this. Easy for me to say. I can't talk today.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean,
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! Yes, sir!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am City Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and Case again, IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, diving into the Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA action from the weekend, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
This is gonna be if it's gonna be a theme here all season with the Bulls, I guess we're gonna have to prepare for it. As the Bulls were down again, big, they were able to come back and beat the Hawks. And I guess you could say that this is probably, like I said, it's probably gonna be the theme here for the Bulls the whole season. Ayo led the way. Aldesumo led the way for the Bulls with 19 points, 125-113 win over Atlanta in Atlanta. And I guess you could say that's one of those things where I guess it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be the theme here. All 5 stars were in double figures for the Bulls. Kobe White had 18, so did Vooch, and as well as Zach, his first game back. But Ayo had 19 off the bench. So a nice showing there by the Bulls here. And it's sort of one of those days where they're on a 4-6. Like I said, we're not really expecting too much of anything for the world. This is probably going to be a good all season. 13 points for Josh Giddey as well. P. Will had 10. Double for Vooch. Like I said, Kobe White and Zach LaVine had 18 apiece. So it's gonna be interesting to see what with 19 points off the bench from Ayo. So a nice good team effort there for the Bulls.
Yeah, a nice ferocious dunk in that second half by Ayo Dosunmu as well. I know Zach did return. He struggled shooting from the 3-point range, 1 for 5, but you mentioned he did have 18 points. Another slow start for Chicago, but they came out on fire in that second half. And shout out to the Bulls defense and limit Trae Young to 14 points. We always said that he always has great games against the Chicago Bulls. And that's last Saturday night he didn't. So the Bulls did step up defensively now. But 3-point shooting, we know that this Bulls team is taking a whole lot more threes this year. And when they shoot above 40% or more, they usually win. When they don't, they usually lose. But that statistic was null and void last Saturday. The Bulls only shot 33% from 3-point range overall, but they did shoot the ball well overall, just above exactly 50%. Now, I want to focus in on that bench. I've been talking about the last few shows. That Bulls bench scored a total of 48 points combined. You mentioned Ayo Dosunmu led the way with 19, but my guy, Jalen Smith, number 7, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Looks like Billy Donovan is starting to give him a little bit more playing time. He played 17 minutes on Saturday. I wish he would play at least 20 minutes. We'll see how that goes, but I'm really impressed by that young man. Also, too, Julian Phillips, 10 points and 4 rebounds. We questioned that draft pick by AK and Mark Eversley a couple of years ago. It looks like he's starting to show some signs. I know Bruzelis is getting a little playing time here and there, but I like the way this Bulls team is playing, especially with some of the key guys I just mentioned. Mine's Bruzelis coming off the bench.
Yeah, they've looked really good so far. Nice little meshing there too. So yeah, we'll see if the Bulls can build on it. They're gonna have a tough opponent tonight. They face Cleveland at the UC. So Cleveland had a nice showing there. We'll get to that in a minute. But going to the rest of the NBA here, starting with yesterday's games. We'll keep it short for time purposes. The Lakers stopped the bleeding. They had no trouble against Toronto, 123-103. Memphis, no trouble with Portland. Sacramento needed overtime, but they beat Phoenix, I should say, 127-118. DeMar DeRozan had his best showing since joining the Cavs. He had 34 points. But the real story here for Phoenix is going to be KD. KD's going to be out for at least 2 weeks with a calf strain that he suffered on Friday, and that could be an issue as we saw on last night for the Suns.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's due to the fatigue of Kevin Durant playing the Olympics, but like you say, he's getting older now, and so some of those injuries will take a little bit more time than others because of his age for him to heal. We'll see how. I think Phoenix can survive short term, but if it was long term, longer than a couple of weeks, I think they would be in trouble. Remember, as I said before, last year, Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker only played 41 games out of 82 as a trio, so you don't want to have that cycle repeating itself again this year.
Especially if they've had such a great start so far as well. So hopefully it's only for a couple of weeks, and hopefully he can come back. Maybe just do like a minutes restriction there. Now I actually saw a little bit of this game on the computer here. Denver edging out Dallas 122-120. Jokic had 37 points, so a pretty thrilling game down there in the Mile High City, I should say.
Yeah, I watched the majority of that game live via this computer screen. Kyrie Irving had 43 points for Dallas. I forgot who the guy's name was for Denver who blocked his shot. Not the last shot, but the shot before then, before Michael Porter Jr. hit the go-ahead shot, which turned out to be the game winner. That was a great block. Nikola Jokic once again had a triple-double. Luka Doncic actually had a good game, but it was Denver that did the little things down the stretch to prevail over the Mavericks. Now, we talk about Jokic being a triple-double machine. Russell Westbrook had a good game last night too. We talked about Michael Porter Jr. on the show last week. He had a good game, including the game win. Also, too, Christian Brown had a couple of big shots last night as well. So it looks like all the parts for Denver are starting to form.
Yeah, it looks like they're starting to kind of get it going there and as well. So we'll see if they can build on that. Now, another good one out west. The Warriors beat the Thunder 127-116. Steph, so we saw a little bit of the old Steph there. He had 35, and he was including 7 for 10 from 7 for 13, I should say, from 3-point range. So that was a big key there. Andrew Wiggins had 18 points, and so it looks like maybe. Oh, and also too, Jonathan Kuminga had 20 off the bench for the Warriors. As far as OKC is concerned, of course, SGA had 24. Jalen Williams had 20, but not a lot of help from the rest of the team. So that was a big problem for them.
Yeah, speaking of Andrew Wiggins, get well soon to Chet Holmgren. When I turned the game on after watching the football, I saw him being carried off the court. He tried to go up to block the shot of Andrew Wiggins. He came down real hard. Me personally, I thought it was his leg or his ankle, but it turned out to be his hip. He'll be reevaluated in between 8 to 10 weeks. So that's going to be a huge loss for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now with that loss last night, they're tied record-wise with Golden State.
Yeah, that looked very painful. If you guys saw that, I would implore you not to. But yeah, it looked really bad. And like you said, he's going to be out for like at least 2 months. So that's going to be a problem for OKC. So we'll see what they're going to have to adjust without him. Now, another thrilling game that I saw on this computer screen, the Heat edged out the T-Wolves 95-94. Jimmy Butler, actually it was Tyler Hero that had that was the story there. 26 points for him. And as far as the T-Wolves is concerned, they've been struggling a little bit. They're still trying to find a rhythm with Julius Randle. He has 17 points. Anthony Edwards had 22, but again, not a lot of offense after them. They had a couple of things for guys on the best. Naz Reid had 15, but the rest of that lineup for the T-Wolves had their struggles last night.
Call me crazy, but do you get the feeling that the Miami Heat can turn some heads this year if they stay healthy? Remember, they weren't healthy last year. Yes, they won the play. They lost the play-in tournament game to Philadelphia before being bounced out of the first round against the now world champion Boston Celtics. Yes, Jimmy Butler was not there, but assuming that he stays healthy and the rest of that Heat team stays healthy, do you get the feeling that they could be a surprise again? I'm not saying they'll finish top three or anything like that, but especially with these early season wins like they won last night, do you get the feeling they may surprise some people again?
Well, this will tasting the 4 and 5 as we're recording this, so I don't know if they can. Maybe it could definitely be a fit for some of the Eastern teams, but the fact that they've been able to beat a top Western Conference team that made the conference finals last year. I mean, that can only help them confidence wise. So I think if you're Eric Spoelstra, you'll take that. So yeah, I mean, they could build on that. So we'll see. They've had their struggles. Remember, they've had their struggles. They've had their struggles early on in the season. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Orlando Magic. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you ahead.
Okay. Philadelphia 76ers get their second win of the year last night. They beat the Charlotte Hornets 107-105 in overtime. The Pacers get by the Knicks by 11, 132-121. The Celtics squeezed one out in Milwaukee, 113-107 over the Bucks. And the Rockets beat the Pistons by 2, 101-99. Did you check out Jalen Green's dunk over your guy, Cade Cunningham? That was nasty.
Yeah, that was nasty. And unfortunately, this is not the first time Cade's been dunked on. I've seen it. I saw a couple of Illinois players do that when he was at Purdue. So but that's that's fine. Okay, going to the rest of the Saturday games. The Clippers edged out Toronto 105-103. Cleveland, of course, as the Bulls' opponent tonight, 105-100 over the Nets. And Utah by 11 over San Antonio. Nice little edge out there. Colin Sexton had 23 for them, and they looked pretty good without Laurie. I think they're now 2-0 since Laurie's been out. So go figure. Well, now that the Bulls fans should feel so bad about losing to them a couple of days ago.
1 week ago tonight, to be exact. But we digress. We'll get to the other stuff in a minute, but just a few scores from last Friday night. The Clippers get by the Kings 107-98. The Lakers get by the Philadelphia 76ers 116-106, I should say. Joel Embiid is suspended, did not play for Philadelphia. In the rematch of the 2023 NBA Finals, the Denver Nuggets get by the Miami Heat 135-122. Minnesota beats Portland. The Thunder get by the Rockets. The Grizzlies over the Wizards. The Suns beat the Mavericks by 1. The Knicks got a dominant win over Milwaukee. Of course, Cleveland keeps their undefeated streak alive. They beat Golden State by 19. It was the Celtics getting by the Nets by 4 in overtime. The Magic, without Paolo Banchero for the next few weeks, they blow out the Pelicans. And speaking of the Pelicans, Zion Williamson will be out indefinitely. It's just real sad that his career has really taken a turn because of the injuries. Most of that is due to himself, but I digress. The Pistons get by the Hawks, and the Hornets blow out the Pacers. That was your results from last Friday.
Yeah, just back to that Suns Mavs game. It was kind of back and forth. And I think this is when KD got hurt. I think it was, you saw after the game he got a little bit banged up, so against that calf injury, and now he's gonna be out for a couple of weeks. They're gonna reevaluate that. Denver with a nice showing against Miami. I mean, Cleveland, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how they look tonight against the Bulls. We know that these two teams always battle it out every time. So we'll see if maybe the Bulls can kind of give them a little bit of a little bit of taste of their own medicine. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, give a little quick preview for tonight's Bulls Cavs game. Of course, you can watch that on CHSN locally here in Chicago if you can get it without using an antenna. If you have to use an antenna, so be it. But the Bulls are 4-6, Cleveland 11-0. Their best start in many assists in LeBron James era, I'm sure. Donovan Mitchell is playing great. Most of their guys are healthy. Darius Garland's back. Jarrett Allen, my guy, is back. Evan Mobley seems like he's back. Lakina, do the Bulls have a chance?
Well, look, they went to overtime the last couple of times they played, so we know these two teams like playing each other. So, we know Donovan Mitchell loves playing the Bulls too, so he does very well, playing against them. Remember, he scored 50 a couple of years ago. Yeah,
He
it should be
scored
interesting to see how
73,
this
I
game.
think it was. I think.
Yes, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that too. I'm talking about the 50
Mhm.
year before that too, and also 73. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was last season, that 73
Yeah.
performance, and then, of course they said, of course, they beat him actually after that game. So yeah, it should be interesting game down the UC tonight. Cavs and Cleveland. Always fun when these two whoever is on the team, both these teams is always good. It's always fun. So it should be a good one tonight.
Yeah, I want to see how Io DeSumo plays again because we mentioned he had a great game last Saturday at Atlanta. I want to see Patrick Williams step up tonight. I want to see him get a double-double. I want to see if he guards Evan Mobley or Jared Allen. I want to see him use his muscle and his size. I know he's improved his outside shooting a bit, but I want to see him get a little bit more busy inside and throw his weight around there against those big guys from the Cavs. And Zach LaVine, we know he's going to bring it offensively, and we'll see if he can improve his outside shooting, particularly in three-point range. I know he was 1 for 5 last Saturday at Atlanta, as he's trying to get his timing back. Too bad Lonzo Ball's not playing. Unfortunately, it looks like he's not going to return anytime soon with that wrist injury, but this would have been a great game if he was returning to the lineup tonight, but you got to deal with what it is. And also, too, Josh Giddey, let's see if he can be more aggressive offensively tonight. I think he's still a great addition to the Bulls team. I want to see him find himself and continue to be more aggressive, especially offensively.
Should be an interesting matchup between him and Donovan Mitchell. That's going to be a
Mhm.
good matchup tonight. I know they faced you a lot when he was in Utah and when Giddey was down in OKC. So that should be a fun one tonight for the Bulls. Speaking of the rest of the schedule for tonight and for the rest of this week, Washington and Houston, that should be a good one. Same time as a Cavs Bulls game at 7. Brooklyn and the Pelicans, that's a 7. The first, the NBA TV game for Monday should be a good one. You got the Clippers and OKC, and Sacramento and San Antonio. That's the last game at 7:00.
All right, Tuesday, which begins NBA Cup play. Yay! For those of you that are excited. So every Tuesday and every Friday for the rest of the month until we get to the title game in mid-December in Las Vegas. Every Tuesday, every Friday for the rest of this month of November will be NBA Cup play. Schedule looks like this. Atlanta will face Boston. Miami will travel to Detroit. The Hornets will face the Magic. The Knicks and the Sixers will do battle. This is a rematch from last year's first round of the playoffs. So that'll be the first game of the TNT Tuesday night doubleheader. Toronto will visit Milwaukee. Utah will host Phoenix. In the second game of that Tuesday night doubleheader, Dallas at Golden State. And, of course, to wrap it up, is the Timberwolves at the Portland Trail Blazers. All Tuesday games are the inaugural games for the NBA Cup.
We should be exciting.
The group play.
Yeah, group play, exciting. Now back to the regular season games on Wednesday. Got Indiana and Orlando. These are Wednesday's games, folks. Boston and Brooklyn. You got the Bulls and the Knicks. That should be a fun one, as it usually is. Cleveland and Philadelphia. The first game of the ESPN Wednesday doubleheader. You got OKC hosting New Orleans. Houston, they host the Clippers. Milwaukee hosting Pistons. Washington and San Antonio at 9:00. The second game of the ESPN Wednesday doubleheader should be a good one. You got Memphis and the Lakers, and you got Minnesota and Portland as Minnesota kicks off their West Coast trip.
And the Suns will wrap up the Wednesday night schedule. They'll play the Sacramento Kings. Now going to Thursday's schedule, if I can get up here via my phone. The long Thursday game. Yep, yeah. On NBA TV, Dallas will face the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City. Remember that matchup, Lakina, back when we were kids? Even 15, 20 years ago, it was a prime matchup. Not anymore.
No, gosh. They usually play each other in the playoffs even back then, back in the day when we were younger. So,
yep.
Times have changed. And that is your schedule for this week in the NBA.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina here with you. We still have a couple minutes left before we break for the bottom of the hour. Lakina, we're going to year 2 of the NBA Cup. As we mentioned mentioned just a moment ago, every Tuesday, every Friday for the rest of the month is the group play. For the NBA Cup, of course, the NBA said, well, we got to put some spice into the early part of the season. Of course, last year it worked only because the Los Angeles Lakers won it. They played the Indiana Pacers in Vegas. Of course, the NBA got good ratings, so we knew they were going to bring it back. Who's going to be there this year? I don't know. But, Lakina, what's your early thoughts about it going into year 2? Do you think we're going to have similar results, or are you just going to wait, or are you in a wait and see mode?
I'm in wait and see mode. I mean, like you get $1 million bonus if you win. Your team, the whole team, each gets $1 million bonus, each player on the winning team. So that's a little bit enough incentive for guys to want to play this. So sure, what the heck? I mean, we'll see how many teams actually do take this seriously. But yeah, I mean, like you said, they looked out last year. Of course, the Lakers made it all the way. Of course, they ended up winning it. So we'll see what happens. Well, like I said, you don't want to hurt yourselves and stuff. So unfortunately, Katie's not going to be part of this. So Phoenix might just say, you know what, let's just forget it, just cause for the regular season games, and a few other teams as well. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, what about you? I'm on wait and see mode there with this.
Yes. Yeah, same here. I think the semifinal game and the final game do not count towards your regular season standings, but the rest of these games do count towards the regular season standings. So these games are important, except for when you get to Vegas. But I know this is the schedule for Friday, and we'll review this again on coming up on Friday. But some of the other matchups in the other group play for the NBA Cup, we have Miami and Indiana, Philadelphia and Orlando, of course, the Pistons and the Raptors, of course, Washington and Atlanta. The Bulls will face Cleveland in Cleveland on Friday. And so tonight's game could set up the tone what's going to happen on Friday when they get it on for real for the NBA Cup group play. Of course, you have the Nets and the Knicks, the Lakers and the Spurs, Clippers, Rockets, Nuggets, Pelicans, the Suns and the Thunder, Grizzlies, Warriors, and the Timberwolves and the Sacramento Kings. On paper, you have some nice matchups here, but as we talked about last year, we'll talk about it here. How many players do you really think that's going to take this seriously? I think most of the players, especially the young guys, will take it seriously. The veterans, they'll try to keep their pace and not to hurt themselves, because they do count as victories in the regular season. As we talked about last year, you saw LeBron James and the Lakers. This was really around this time. This was their best stretch of their regular season. They played well. We all know that LeBron James wants to build up his title resume, and they got the NBA Cup. Do you think he has enough energy to do that again this
I don't
time?
know if he wants to. Well, I don't know. Like I said, he just come back from the Olympics too, so I don't know if he wants to go too hard in this. Plus, he already has the NBA Cup. So now I would say that the guys are the Olympic guys. Steph's just come back from injury. I don't think he wants to go too hard into this. Tatum, I doubt as well. So like I said, I think some of the stars probably might not want to do that. Like I said, the guys like SGA and maybe Anthony Edwards, maybe they might want to have this on their resume too. In addition, so like I said, it's gonna depend on the team and the player, I guess. But yeah, that's really, like I said, we'll see. We're gonna get set the tone tomorrow as to how many teams do take this whole thing seriously. Get ready for more of those cool little colorful courts, the little basketball courts just for the NBA Cup. Get ready for those, folks.
I will say this: the best looking court that I saw last year was the Chicago Bulls. Now they didn't do well, but the court looked nice.
No, yeah. Well, I think Portland's court looked really good too. I think from last year. We'll see how the Clippers court. We'll see with the Clippers in their new arena. We'll see how their court looks. That should be interesting to see how their court looks.
Oh, that's right, in that new Truett Dome.
Yep. So we'll see what happens with that. Let me see if we got enough time. No, we gotta go to break. But of course, the second season Sports of Chicago. Of course, we'll do week 11 of college football. Also, a little bit of hockey, a little bit of college hoops as well, and of course, a special edition of Old School TV Monday as we salute. Well, I'll let Sid tell you about what's going to happen on Old School TV Monday, but it should be a good one too. Coming up next, Lakita McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More fun as we wrap up. Coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. You're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG, SIDKid80. Once again, it's SIDKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X, and Hughes McGee on IG.
This is our last break of the show for today. If you have any questions or comments for us as we do our grab bag segment, and we've been diving into the last weekend's action from the world of college football, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go to the Gridiron College Style Week 11 recap here. As the Friday games first. UCLA beat Iowa 20-17. Not as bad as I thought it would be, but yeah, nice win for Deshaun Foster and his Bruins as they try to get bowl eligible.
Big loss for Iowa.
Rice. Yeah, indeed. Cal beat Wake. If you took the over on that one, you had a nice little start to your weekend. Memphis beat Rice. New Mexico beat SDSU, San Diego State. Going to Saturday's games. Not the prettiest game for number one Oregon, but they did just know to hold off Maryland. Ohio State took care of business against Purdue, and Ole Miss gives Georgia their second loss. This is the first time I think this was 20. No, it was actually Kirby Smart's first year that Georgia has now lost two games right before November, before mid-November. So a nice win for Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart, and that crew down there in Ole Miss.
Then you'll surely give Ole Miss a say that Ole Miss had a chance last Friday. I think I believe I said that. But Jackson Dart, I say he needed to have a good game. Excuse me, but he bounced back from that early turnover that he had. He went 13 of 22 for 199 yards and a touchdown. Also, I know he led the team in rushing with 8 carries for 50 yards. But you could tell that Georgia did not have it, especially in that second half. Ole Miss just put the pedal to the metal. Give credit to their defense, obviously, and it had grinded out a 28-10 win. Georgia's still good, but there's some chinks in that armor, and if they expect to be playing deep into that college football playoff on top of Georgia, they're really going to have to tighten things up, especially offensively.
this one my Ole Miss will definitely brighten up their resume, because remember earlier on people were saying, oh, they didn't play anybody. So this one should definitely help them in the part for the college football playoff. Georgia Tech upset Miami. I'm not surprised by this 28-23, I should say. Miami had been playing with fire all year, and Saturday they got burned down there in Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe this also helped regroup the Hurricanes. Cam Ward, I know that statistically his stats looked good, 348 yards and 3 TDs, but down the stretch, no one was open down the field. He tried to take chances where he shouldn't have. He tried to force the issue, and he got caught, especially on that last drive where he threw that interception. So congrats to Georgia Tech. I know things don't look well for them right now, even though they are 6-4 overall. Miami, hopefully Mario Cristobal will get his team turned around here. Hopefully their loss will motivate them to finish out the regular season strong.
Still right there at the top of the ACC, so not too worried about Miami at this point. Texas, no trouble with Florida, 49-17. Yeah, go ahead, Florida. Keep Billy Napier. Sure, please. I'm sure the SEC are loving that. Oh my God, Quinn Ewers 333 yards, passing yards. So nice showing by Texas there. Penn State, no trouble with Washington. They took it out on Washington or those poor Huskies. Tennessee, a little sloppy early, but they pulled it off against Mississippi State.
They're getting ready for Georgia next week.
Yeah, that should be a good one. Indiana, the first time they're 10-0, and they beat Michigan. Find a quarterback, for goodness sakes, as a new buddy Natalie Spalla would say from UC7 down there in DC. It was a Michigan grad, a new friend of the show. But that was just again, not pretty, but again, if you're a Kirsten Guinea in that Hoosiers group, you'll take that. BYU had a last-second field goal. Well, not last second, but a go-ahead field goal in the fourth quarter. The Utah folks were not very happy about that. I think their AD got fined for some comments he made about the officiating after the game.
Oops.
So he's a little lighter in the wallet. Notre Dame just hammered Florida State 52-3. Alabama, I don't think anybody saw this score. No trouble with LSU, 42-13. I don't know. Look, Alabama, they got 2 losses now, but they're starting to figure things out, I guess, finally.
Yeah, Jalen Monroe, as I said last Friday on the show, the LSU Tigers defense got the key in on him. Well, they didn't. 12 carries, 185 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Brian Kelly, I said this will be a pressure game for him. They failed miserably in front of a primetime audience, in front of their own home fans. Only accumulating 13 points. I know they scored a touchdown late in the game, but it really didn't matter. Their offense, let's talk about the Tigers, was like where's Waldo? They have yet to find an offense. And Brian Kelly, is he a good coach? Yes, but I'm starting to get that sense that when it comes to big games like this, his teams fail to show up, and all starts and ends with him.
Yeah, you saw what happened earlier in that game against USC. So definitely us on to look up to kind of look out for there too. Boise State held off Nevada. You'll give Nevada credit. They tried to get into it, just too much firepower on that offensive side from Ashton Genty. 209 yards and a couple more TDs. His 23 rushing TDs this season are the most by any FBS player through 9 games since Ricky Williams did in 1998. Incidentally, he ended up with 25. Of course, Genty's now with 23. Ricky Williams will go on to win the Heisman that year, so we'll see if that the history repeats itself. We'll see if Gentry, if he could avoid any major injuries, and Boise State could probably get to the playoff. He definitely has a fresh up a chance for winning the Heisman.
Yeah, Boise State, if the season will end today, they're in the college football playoffs. So shout out to Fox for putting this game on Saturday in prime time. I did get a chance to watch it for a few minutes. And Genty, as we talked about all year, Lakina, he's very good. He's definitely going to play on Sundays in the near future. But like you say, if he avoids any major injuries, he'll be in the top 3 for the Heisman next month in New York.
We'll see what happens in this next month in the season. Kansas actually showing a little bit of fight. They beat Iowa State again. We took the over on that one, 45-36. I mean, he had a nice little Saturday night. Virginia beat Pittsburgh. Nice win for them. I know they've had a little bit of some growing pains the last couple of years, but nice little booster there, eagle boost there for them. Colorado, after being down, they come back and beat Texas Tech 41-27. 29 passing yards for Shadur Sanders. To credit to the defense, they gave up a couple of early drives where Tech scored, but they were able to lock it down. And of course, the offense was able to pick up the slack.
Watch that whole game live, and like you said, Lakina, Texas Tech were fully emotional. You thought they would, with the Fox Noon kickoff crew being there for the pregame show. They scored 13 unanswered, but Colorado's defense has been the total opposite of what it was a year ago at this time. They shut out Texas Tech 14 points, holding them to 14 points from the rest of the game. And you mentioned Shadur Sanders. He's going to be there as far as the Heisman Trophy is concerned. Travis Hunter had a good game once again. But Shiloh Sanders paying tribute to his dad with the touchdown, scoring on that fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. Now, I thought Colorado should have beaten them by 20 more points, but you're going to take what you can get. Colorado, they should move up in the polls. We'll see what happens later on today, tomorrow sometime. We'll talk about it on Friday. But if Colorado wins out here, which the schedule looks in their favor now, and of course, Fox Noon kickoff crew will be in Colorado, folks, this Saturday, ahead of the Utah-Colorado showdown in Boulder. But Colorado looks good right now. They win out the rest of their schedule. It looks like they'll play BYU in the Big 12 championship. If that's the case, I cannot wait. And maybe Colorado, if they win out and somehow beat BYU in that title game, they'll be in a college football playoff. Who would have thought this before the start of the season? I didn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. Now, again, a lot could happen between now and this into December. So we've seen some weird things happen, especially in these next couple of weeks. So I wouldn't count your chickens. I wouldn't count them, into the Big 12 championship game. Just a lot of weird things can happen. So we'll see. Wazoo, no trouble. I know our girl Kayla Anderson's very happy. Her Cougars beat Utah State 49-28. Clemson was a nice bounce back win over Tech. The Finding My Burn was, I know he's happy. He was happy about this. I saw him. He actually took a little quick trip down there over the weekend as Mizzou held off OU. Army stays undefeated. They beat North Texas. I know Layla Rahimi was very happy with that. Your guy, PJ Fleck, laid an egg against Graciano and his Scarlet Knights down in Jersey.
Yeah, Minnesota couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, they were able to the credit to the defense for Rutgers, they were able to keep Darius Taylor at bay. So unfortunately, that kind of killed them there. West Virginia beat Cincy. Back and forth game between BC and Syracuse. BC held them off there. Let's give Jim Moore some credit. Connecticut, they got another win against UAB. They're now let me see. Let me check their record here real quick. I know they're already well into the I don't know if they're gonna get into the playoff, of course, because they're independent, but Jim Moore Jr., to his credit, I mean, they didn't have a good year last year. Some people were actually calling for him to get fired. Now they're 7-3. They're going to be we'll see. I don't know. Look, they're probably not going to get to the playoff, but they're probably going to get to a good bowl games if they keep playing this way. So a nice season there by Jim Moore Jr. so far, and a nice win there against UAB. Duke beat NC State. Let's see what else. South Carolina, no trouble with Vanderbilt. So Shane Beamer and his guys, I'm sure they're probably keeping themselves for a couple of those losses in this early on the season. But if they keep it up, I mean, they might have a couple. Look, their schedule actually looks really good. Especially when we get to near the end of the season against Clemson. So they could perhaps get maybe 9 to 10 wins. Perhaps maybe I don't know if they're gonna get to a playoff, but they can go to a really good bowl game.
Going back to the Big 12, Lakina, Arizona State, the Sun Devils, they get by UCF 35-31. Arizona, just like Colorado, 7-2 on the year, 4-2 in Big 12 play. I'm not saying Colorado's a shoo-in for the Big 12 title game, but they control their own destiny. Arizona State, which was one of the teams that gave Colorado trouble last year. They're quietly getting some things done, so they're right in the mix as well for that battle of the top spot in the Big 12 conference.
Yeah, that Arizona State squad looks really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow like I said, a lot could happen. So they might sneak in there too. So that's another team that could probably could say, well, wait a second now, don't forget about us. So I love the Sun Devils. So that should be a good one there. And let's see, UNLV edged out Hawaii. And Air Force beat Fresno State. Our buddy Chris Voss had to call the game there for Fox. So so a nice schedule for to wrap up the week 11 in college football.
All right, and I know that the polls will be out again tomorrow, correct?
Yep. The next
Do you?
polling for the yeah, I don't think I was expecting really big changes. I don't
Okay.
think in the top two, I don't think so, but there might be a little
Okay.
bit of shuffling going on, of course. But I know Georgia might go down a couple of spots. We'll see how far Ole Miss goes up. Will the fact that BYU needed that last second field goal, will that may hinder on some voters a little bit? Will they go down a spot or two? We've seen it happen before, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how much shuffling there is.
And I want to see in that top 25 poll how many spots will Colorado move up? Now they were ranked number 20 going into the weekend. Will they be ranked number 17, maybe 18 or 16? We'll see. Well, they should move up at least a couple of spots.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will. I think they will. We'll see. I mean, I know. Fox's Mike Hill is bringing out all the wristies for people thinking that, because remember early in the year he was the only one that had them in the number one ranking, and that didn't look good early, but it's looking good now. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. These next couple of weeks, we'll see if they can finish strong here. Perhaps maybe get to that Big 12 title game.
Yeah, like we mentioned, we'll preview it on Friday. But for Colorado, they'll host Utah. Utah's struggling this year. They are 4-5 and only one win in the Big 12 conference. If you're Deion Sanders, I'm sure he's telling his kids that right now as we broadcasting this show, and I'm sure they wrapped up practice. Even though you're 7-2 right now, don't get ahead of yourselves. Utah on paper they look like crap, but if you relax, they'll come in to our place and handle us. Well, all the pressure's on us, not on them. So even though Utah is struggling, they can come in with confidence and punches in the mouth. So if you're Deion Sanders and crew, you had to guard yourself for being complacent, because if you become complacent, just walking in expecting the cakewalk, you're going to get yourself in some trouble.
That's what happened to BYU. They almost got lost because of that too, I'm sure. So yep. So yeah. So I'm sure they'll have I'm sure Deion will have his guys ready. So I'm not too worried about them. Let's go to the hardwood for college hoops. If you saw, I saw a really great game on Friday. Kind of a rematch of the national championship game on the men's side between between Kansas and North Carolina. Of course, Kansas edged out North Carolina. They held on. Definitely, like I said, definitely won't be an issue for Kansas like it was last year. They basically go like a good 10-11 deep, so I'm not worried about that. Hunter Dickinson had a nice showing there. He had double in that win against North Carolina. So we'll see if they can kind of all up here. DePaul's 2-0. Loyola had a nice win yesterday. UIC beat Yale, which of course you guys remember Yale beat Auburn last year in the tournament. So a nice win for so a nice win for Mr. Valentine and his guys. So I know you're not watching college hoops just yet, Sid, but yeah, I think your earlier impressions for what you have seen, if you have.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch a lot of it just yet, but we talked about on our last couple of shows, focusing locally first. I want to see how Illinois does. With them being a second half performance away from reaching a Final Four last year. They have a totally new squad. I know they have a couple players returning from last year's team. I want to see how they do. Chris Collins, pressures on him. No Boo Buie, as Northwestern will try to make it 3 straight years into the NCAA tournament. As we always say every year, looking at the Big Ten is competitive. They usually run between 6 to 8, 9, 10 teams deep in talking about qualifying for an NCAA tournament. I want to see how they do. Purdue, no more Zach Edey. How will they respond? Michigan State, Tom Izzo, they're always there every year. We'll see how they do this year. And what about Indiana? And then what about Ohio State? Remember, Ohio State made that run last year, but fell short. So we'll see what happens. You cannot take a night off in the Big Ten. Now with those 4 West Coast teams in, with USC, Washington, Oregon, and Oregon. So it's going to be that much tougher this year.
And I have to say, nice win for Richard Pitino and his New Mexico squad. They beat UCLA on Saturday. I saw a little bit of that game. You kind of say that New Mexico kind of went ahead of schedule. That win against UCLA could go a long way. You'll go into tournament time. Now, speaking of UIC and Northwestern, I'm glad you said that, because they actually have a game tomorrow. That'll be at 6 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. So that should be a fun one. Down there in Evansville, in Evanston, I should say, because like I said, of course, UIC had a nice win against Yale, so that should be good. UConn Tennessee, I know they play this week as well. St. John's, don't forget about Rick Pitino and his guys, down there over there in New York. So yeah, a lot of quick college who's actually coming up this week. So of course, Baylor. I'm sure they're looking to bounce back for just being hammered by Gonzaga. We'll see if those two. I know a rematch from the 2021 championship game. Okay, I got you, but even still, I mean, a lot of those guys are gone now, so it doesn't really make a difference. But I'm not worried about Baylor because they think they could, Gonzaga. We'll see how Mark Few does. But yeah, so some really good matchups coming up this week in college hoops.
You definitely got to check out Duke in terms of watching them from start to finish. I saw a couple of highlights of a Cooper Flag. I know he's supposed to be the projected number 1 pick in next summer's NBA draft. I know he has some athleticism to him, but I want to see how the rest of his game looks from start to finish. So hopefully I can check him out soon before the rest of the country does.
Yeah, I think they play this week. I gotta check it out. I know they do play this week, so I guess I'll have to. I think they play tomorrow night, if not mistaken. So I'll check that real quick. But anything else? Let's talk some Blackhawks. Well, as I'm trying to look through that.
Me myself. The Blackhawks. Yeah, the Blackhawks got an important win last night. They're now 6-9-1 on the year. They beat the Minnesota Wild. Ending their lone losing streak against them 2-1 in overtime. The OWG. Well, I can't abbreviate today. The game-winning goal in overtime came courtesy of Philip Kurashev. Of course, Jason Dickinson scored the first goal of the game in the first period. The goaltending was nice for Chicago once again. I know they gave up the 1-0 lead late. It's always tough to win in a 1-0 game in the National Hockey League, but these young Hawks bounced back with a great win last night. Once again, I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're going to surprise people. I think they're going to surprise some people if they play consistently for 60 minutes. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year. Yes, they had some injuries last year, especially to Connor Bedard. But with the veteran group that they have around him, I know Connor hasn't gotten going yet offensively yet. Because this is a time for all players go through lulls of not scoring, but if he stays healthy in the way the Blackhawks can continue to play like this, I'm not saying they're going to finish the year at 500, but they will cause some problems for a whole lot of teams, especially in that crappy Central Division.
Yeah, they might. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be right there for one of the wild card spots, but I think they could definitely give teams fits. I saw a little bit that goal that Will scored yesterday to cap off that win. So nice showing by the Blackhawks. I mean, look, like I said, they might kind of be like right there in the borderline of 500. So we'll see. But yeah, it should be. Look, I think this team's gonna be fun to watch. I'm sure Bedard's gonna get it going. Look, we've seen some guys they have little hiccups here and there. It happens, but he'll be okay. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Like I said, the Blackhawks keep playing like this and not have any major injuries. I know there's a couple of other prospects we expect to come up later on this season. I don't think the Blackhawks will be as bad as last year. Now, last year, even though it was the first year of Connor Bedard, we saw the statistics that he had, and he missed exactly a little bit over a month last year. And if he stays healthy, he's going to have a better sophomore season. And the Blackhawks, you cannot take them lightly if they play like they did last night.
Yeah, they can keep that up. I think, they're definitely going to be a tough go for anybody that plays. So hopefully they can kind of keep it up. Incidentally, want to clean this up. Duke and Kentucky, they play each other tomorrow night down in Atlanta on ESPN at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
That should be a fun one. So that should be a fun one there. Of course, Mark Pope, the new guy in charge, back in Kentucky. So that should be a fun matchup. Always fun when those two teams play each other. So that should be a fun one tomorrow down there in Atlanta. Now back to the NHL. The Winnipeg Jets. It's good Lord. I mean, they've been a tough out so far this year. And Connor Hellebuyck, 16-1. He has 4 shutouts. He's the first NHL goalie to win 16 games on a 17-game span while having 4 or more shutouts. So can the Jets keep this up?
I don't know if they can, because this is around the time their usually teams figure it out one another. Things kind of even out. Winnipeg has been one of those teams that You thought they would make deep runs in the playoffs. That just haven't. They usually get bounced out of the first round, and so we'll see what happens. It's a long year. They're taking advantage of right now, but I think things will even out. So they still a good team. The Hawks found that out about a month ago, even though it was early in the season. But they're still a good team. But I don't know if they can keep it up like what Edmonton was doing last year. I don't know. They a good team, yes, but I don't know if they're like a dominant team like that.
Yeah, the Kings look really well as well in the Pacific Division. The Devils looked really good so far this year. I like Florida. I like how Florida looks so far. So yeah, there's still a lot to be decided here. So I know Winnipeg looks really good. I've seen a couple of highs of their games, but yeah, I don't think they can keep it up. Not at this pace, because usually with a long season, with all the spread out it is, I don't think they're going to be able to keep it up.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you as we try to check the news wires regarding the Chicago Bears. This one headline I did see during the break, Matt Eberflus is saying, I guess he said that Caleb Williams is still their quarterback. And I know some people on Twitter and other places say, well, bench him for Tyson Bagent. That's not going to do anything. Sorry. Even though Caleb hasn't played well these last 3 weeks, it's not totally his fault why the Bears are struggling. So good on Matt Eberflus is saying that the Bears he'll stick with Caleb as the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. But anything else regarding Shea Waldron or no?
I haven't seen anything. I remember what I said earlier that any change is going to be Flus' decision, his decision alone. So take that for what it's worth. So I don't think there's going to be any major changes. So I don't know. I mean, like our buddy Dave Curtis said, for of course, was a long time sports anchor for WBBM radio for many years. He's retired now. I know he said that are the Packers going to the Packers it's going to get slacked by the Packers, which is probably going to happen on Sunday. Well, that's going to be the final straw for somebody to make some changes. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Friday, assuming that no changes are made leading up to next Sunday's game against the Packers. You're listening to Sports on Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid Lakina here with you. We still have a couple of minutes left. This coming courtesy news coming from our good friends at Off Announcers. We dip into a little sports media news here. Bill Simmons, of course, from The Ringer, produced HBO Celtics docuseries to be released next year.
So it's gonna be like just after recent years, like the last 20, 30 years. It's gonna be like the whole Celtics history.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to include what happened obviously last year with them winning the title. And of course, I think it's going to just include their history, the cultural impact, and the storytelling the NBA's winningest and most storied franchise. And of course, Bill Simmons, for those of you that don't know, that he created the 30 for 30 series, which ESPN still carries to this day. And so he stepped on his own, produced the HBO original docuseries. It's coming to Max in 2025. The docuseries is called Celtic City.
Should be interesting. Yeah, should be interesting. Like I'm sure they're gonna, interview. They're sure gonna have excerpts from the late great Bill Russell's time there. I'm sure the '80s, of course, with Bird and Parrish and McHale and that group. Cedric Maxwell. I'm sure he'll in there too.
He still does radio for them.
Yes, I know. I've heard. So, I think they'll definitely cover. Well, of course, I'm sure they're gonna cover last year's championship as well. So, I think they'll. Yeah, of course, Boston, the big three in Boston, of course. Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen. When they won that their title. I think it should be a good one. Say what you want about Bill Simmons. Look, I'm not gonna listen to his podcast, but he actually does a great job of producing stuff. So that's really his bread and butter. So. He's not been as annoying since the Patriots have kind of been on a down spiral. Well, I'm sure he probably. Well, I'm sure after yesterday, I'm sure he's probably perking up a little bit. But he's a good producer, so I'll give him that. So I might check it out when it's released.
And speaking of the Bills Chiefs game, which you brought up last hour, that's the headline game for CBS next week. The NFL Today crew is going on location to Buffalo ahead of that game next week. So I think this is the first time outside of the playoffs. First time in a long time that the NFL Today crew will be doing a pregame show outside the studio during the regular season. Remember, Fox Was the first one to do that back in 1997. Of course, now CBS is doing it for the first time for this group in 2024.
Well, it's not, they're only like a couple hours like north, and hopefully it won't be too cold outside because I don't want to hear any of them. Well, they all played in cold weather, so that they shouldn't have to complain too much about the weather. But yeah, I mean that should be a fun atmosphere out there, and well, it'll be early too, so you'll have to worry too much about it. The game's until like 3:25 our time, so it'll be a nice little. Even though some people might come early, so we'll see, but. Yeah, it should be a fun one. Like I said, I don't think they've done this before, as far as I can tell, in this iteration of the NFL today. So nice, smart. It's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be all over the country, coast to coast. So everybody will get a chance to watch this game.
Yes, including here in Chicago. So I'm following that Bears game, which we expect to be an ugly one. But we digress. Shout out to Fox. They've been doing this since its inception in the night. I don't think they did it that first year, '94, but I think all the other years they've done it. They broadcasted from the Naval Base yesterday for Veterans Day. The original NFL on Fox Fox NFL Sunday Crew, they did the whole show for 2 hours. Talked with the soldiers and did some demonstrations like they always do, and they did a great job. Michael Strahan did a good job. Jimmy Johnson, as we talked about before, he's doing a split schedule. Whenever it's a regional action, he's not there. Robert Gronkowski is there. But wherever it's a doubleheader, Jimmy Johnson's there. So the whole crew was there yesterday. I thought they did a great job once again honoring our men and women in our armed forces. Yeah, they actually do a really good job with that show. So shout out to the producers who do that. This has been a thing, I think, since like the mid-aughts. I think they started doing that, and they've been doing it ever since. So yeah, nice showing up for them yesterday. But yeah, like I said, a great shout out to the veterans and the Naval Base. So yeah, I think there's gonna be a couple of games, college basketball games on the Naval Base coming up this weekend. I gotta check, I gotta see. But yeah, so yeah, but another great show for Fox NFL Sunday and the Naval Base over there. All right, anything else before we get to Old School TV Monday? No, I am good. No updates for the CHSN thing. So yeah, we might as well keep going. For you, no antenna. Did you decide that, or did your mother decide that? Like, I'm not using the antenna. Yeah, because I know a couple of friends who have the antenna. It's been a pain for them. So for him, so yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. All right, around this time or at the end of each show on Mondays, we like to do a segment to brighten up your day and set you off in a good note for the week. It's called Old School TV Monday. Real quickly, Keena, I know we don't have much time, but this show premiered 55 years ago this week. It's called Sesame Street. It's an American educational children's television series that combined live action, sketch comedy, animation, and puppetry. It was produced by the Sesame Workshop, is known as the Children's Television Workshop until June of 2000. It was created by Joe Gans, Cooney, and Lloyd Morissette. It was known for its images communicated through the use of Jim Henson's Muppets and included short films with humor and cultural references. It premiered on November 10th, which the anniversary was actually yesterday, 1969, to positive reviews, some controversy, but in high viewership. It aired in the United States on national public television provider PBS since its debut, with the first run moving from premium channel HBO in January of 2016, then its sister streaming service on HBO Max in 2020. The show's format consisted of a combination of commercial television production elements and techniques which have evolved to reflect the changes in American culture and audiences' viewing habits. It was the first children's TV show to use educational goals in a curriculum to shape its content, and the first show whose educational effects were formally studied. Its format and content have undergone significant changes to reflect the changes to its curriculum. Yeah, I think everybody, I think just about our generation, even the generation before us, even the generation before them, grew up on Sesame Street, and you learn your numbers, your alphabets, and you actually learn life lessons as well. But they do it in a very nice, positive way, in a nice little, not preachy, type way. I remember a friend of mine, she reposted this, and this was, remember Mr. Hooper, the guy who ran the store? He passed away. And instead of chasing the actor, actually, Willie, who portrayed him,
they actually wrote his death in. And if you saw, there was a nice moment between Bob and Maria. Love those folks. God rest their souls. The actors there, and how they handled death. Teaching Big Bird about death and such. And like I said, they did it in a kind of a nice sensitive way, and nice positive way. And it was really moving. It was a little bit before our time. So I think you're about a little bit older than me, but yeah, I wasn't there. But I remember watching this clip on YouTube, and it's also about inclusivity. I mean, of course, they've added puppet with autism. They've added one who's a disabled puppet, and of course, you got Elmo and Grover and the Cookie Monster, Bert and Ernie. Oscar the Grouch. So
the Count.
Yes, yeah. Oh, and Count. Oh, I love the Count. But yeah, I mean, Super Grover. That's one of my favorites. So, so I think they evolve with each time. It's unfortunate that it's not on PBS anymore, so that more people have access to it. But again, I digress. But they covered. They did like changing with race and class and stuff. But like I said, they did in a very thoughtful and sensitive way that kids could understand. I think that's always one of the things I love most about Sesame Street.
Yeah, they did it, like I said, in a respectful way, to not shoving it down your throat. Of course, there was a bunch of celebrities that debuted on that had their guest appearances on the show. The late great Barbara Bush, of course, Miss Michelle Obama, the former first lady from a decade ago, she was on there. Of course, some of the sports stars we know that appeared on that show: Reggie Jackson, Terrell Davis, during that Super Bowl year in 1998. If you don't know that story, he taped this episode after they lost their only game of that year to the New York Giants, 13-10. So he had to stay and shoot that episode of Sesame Street. And of course, other celebrities, other celebrities made their guest appearances on that show throughout the years. Music, not just for the entertainment world, but from the political world as well. And this I didn't know until a couple of years ago, Lakina. And I think his biopic is out this month. But before he made superstardom, the late great Luther Vandross started his singing career. He started his singing career on that show during his early years.
I forgot who he played, but for the first couple of years in the early to mid '80s before his career took off, he was on he had a recurring role on Sesame Street. He was a singer. So and I think that's how he got his record contract was. I guess the record company saw him on Sesame Street. So remember that. I think Holly Robinson's dad was on there too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he played Mr. Gordon, if I'm not mistaken. I might be off on the character, but he was on there. I really like Bob and Maria. Those were two of my favorites. And it was also, like I said, representation, because you didn't, Maria, being Hispanic, a Latina, you didn't see a lot of that, during that time. So that was something that kind of broke the mold, for Sesame Street, because you saw, blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans. It was one of the first shows to have Middle Eastern representation. So they kind of broke the mold there as well.
Yep. So for Old School TV Monday, we salute the long-running children's television series Sesame Street, which premiered 55 years ago yesterday. Lakina, take us home.
222 Emmy Awards and I think 12 Grammys that they won, that Sesame Street won during that time. In all different categories. That's just amazing. With that said, you follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, executing in the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing the theme song. Nope, forget it.
Not me either. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more time, as Lakina would say, be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, hopefully once the issues are fixed, you can get Sports on Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Of course, once the issues are fixed, if you get the Roku TV app, wherever you get your apps on your Play Store, you type in Sports on Chicago, you can catch replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cousin, a whole lot more. You can get Sports on Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV once the issues are fixed, hopefully.
And
soon.
we will provide.
So enjoy all of the great college hoops. There's a little bit of college football coming up later this week, and of course you got the NBA as well. And we'll see if there's any changes, which I doubt it. Of the Bears stuff coming up, I doubt it. But yeah, so no. Enjoy some NBA and NHL as well. So a nice little cornucopia of sports, you guys, to kind of keep you guys distracted from all that stuff going on off the sports realm as well. So for Sid, I'm Lakeem, as I can see sports on Sports in Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Happy Veterans Day to all our veterans, both past and present. Holla.